Today I wanted to make a video to help those of you who are buying a used motorhome and who are not sure about pre-purchase inspections, what you should be inspecting or what you should potentially be paying someone to inspect before you commit to that purchase. I recently had a couple of pre-purchase inspections to do on a Fiat Ducato and a Ford Transit, and so I videoed the inspection, and I thought that I could just take you guys along with me so that you can see what we inspect and why, and potentially if you need to, you can do this inspection yourself. The inspection doesn't require any specialist equipment except for possibly one or two items on the check sheet. So if you are wanting to do the inspection yourself, it's more than possible, and I'll also add a PDF download below this video in the description, so that if you do want to be doing this inspection yourself, then you're more than welcome. Grab a copy of this PDF and go ahead and inspect this motorhome. The location of these jobs was at a place called RV Finders in Amberley, which is just north of Christchurch. RV Finders is run by a husband and wife couple, Peter and Melissa, and they sell motorhomes on behalf, motorhomes and caravans. They're a really great couple, and I highly recommend going to see them or checking out their website if you are looking to sell your motorhome or if you're looking to buy something. If you do want to get in touch with them, I'll leave the contact details for their website in the description below this. Okay, so we're at the vehicle. I'm going to check the central locking. I'm then going to hop into the driver's seat and just basically go through all the electrics that I can reach. I'm going to check the electric windows. I'm going to check the electric mirrors are operating correctly. I'm going to be checking the radio, the wipers, the wiper washers. I'm going to be making sure that the reverse camera is working. In this case, this vehicle had a faulty reverse camera. I'm looking onto the dash there to see if there's any warning lights coming up. And then I want to check the external lights of the motorhome. So I'm going to turn everything on, I'm going to put the hazard lights on, I'm going to apply the brakes and put it in reverse, and then walk around the outside of the vehicle to make sure that all those lights are working. Moving on to the aircon system here, we're just checking that the blower motor is operational, so turning it on to all the different speeds and then getting an idea of how much airflow is out. And then here is a really important check. What we want to do here is to make sure that when you press the aircon button, the AC button, that the compressor in the engine bay is going to start to turn. This vehicle here is the Ford Transit, and you can see that the compressor is located right there. Now, all vehicles will be different, so it's going to require you to have a little bit of know-how, or potentially be looking up service diagrams, or find someone who's a little bit knowledgeable. But we want to be opening up the bonnet, we want to be locating that compressor, and we want to make sure that when the aircon button is pressed, you see the compressor clutch begin to turn. That is seen right about here. Now this is a really important test, and it tells us a lot about the condition of the air conditioning system. It proves that electrically everything is sound. There's no broken wires or strange programming going on that's preventing the aircon system to work, and it's also telling us that there is sufficient refrigerant in the aircon system to allow the compressor to engage. If there was a bad leak and the vehicle had lost all of the refrigerant, then the pressure sensor would prevent that compressor from engaging. So by pressing the aircon button and confirming that that compressor begins to engage is a vital check in ensuring that you have a working aircon system. The next check with this system is to verify that you have sufficient gas in order to actually cool down the cabin. Now we have a number of gauges that we use to ensure that we are running the correct pressure, but I have a little bit of a hack for you here. On every vehicle there's going to be 2 aluminium pipes that come through the firewall and disappear off to various places within the engine. You want to locate those pipes where they come through the firewall and put your finger on the bigger of the 2 aluminium pipes. You should find with that compressor engaged that that pipe is freezing cold. If it is, then you are at least within 10% of a fully charged aircon system, and you don't need to have any worries about aircon leaks. The final part of the aircon check is just simply to make sure that the air coming out of the vents is actually getting cold. We use a temperature probe. If you don't have one of these, just put your hand up to the vent and hopefully it's a warm day and you've got cold air coming out of the vents. If all of those checks have been performed, then you've been confident that you have a fully functioning aircon system in that motorhome. Moving on to checking the starting battery and alternator, and this is unfortunately where you do need a piece of specialized equipment. What you're seeing me hook up here is an oscilloscope. This is going to have a look at the voltage fluctuations on the battery terminals as we're cranking the starter motor and as the alternator begins to charge the vehicle. The oscilloscope software here looks at the voltage ripple on the battery terminals, and it's also looking at the current in and out of the battery and comparing those two to determine the health of the battery and the health of the alternator. If the voltage drops too low while cranking, it lets you know that that battery is on its way out, and if there's too much AC ripple after the engine is running, then that's usually an indicator that a diode has started to fail in the alternator and you're going to have charging problems soon down the road. There are some simpler tests that you can do with multimeters or maybe a carbon pile battery tester if you've got one, but nothing beats an oscilloscope for accurate starting battery and alternator testing. We're probably about an hour into the actual inspection. We now know a lot of information about this motorhome. The electrics are all operational, the electric windows, the mirrors, the wiper blades are all working well. The lights, the indicators, brake lights are all working. The backing camera is operational. We know that the aircon system is working, and we know that there's no refrigerant leaks in that aircon system. We know the health of the battery, and we know the health of the alternator, so we can be confident that we're not going to be in the middle of nowhere, broken down and unable to restart the vehicle. We're now going to move on to the living areas of the motorhome, and the first thing that I like to do is jump on a ladder, get up on top of the roof and just check the condition of the roof. Make sure that anything that's glued down, such as solar panels, is still nice and firm, and that there's nowhere where the sealant is starting to come away and potentially letting water down into your habitation area. Moving into the vehicle, we want to turn on the gas systems first, as these can take a little while to get operational. So make sure that the fridge, the water and the furnace is working. Move on to the oven and the stove top and check that those are both operational. While we wait for the water to heat up, we're going to move around the cabin and systematically look at all the windows and curtains and blinds to make sure that those all open and close properly. And then we're going to turn on the water pump and go and test all the taps in the vehicle to make sure that they're all working. Make sure that you're checking the toilet flush as well, because that is something you really want to have working when you're going away on your motorhome. Switch the main controller on and make sure all your internal lighting comes on, including the awning light outside the vehicle. Check the smoke alarm, including any carbon monoxide or propane alarms. And then we want to turn on the satellite dish and make sure that it's going to come up and it's going to locate the Freeview satellite by itself. After the Freeview satellite got replaced about a year ago, a lot of these systems are still needing a software update. So if you're finding that the dish is just spinning round and round and round and not actually finding the satellite, you probably need to speak to someone like myself to get a software update installed in that system. While you're moving around inside the motorhome, just open all the cupboards and drawers that you can get your hands on and place your hand right at the back to see if you can feel any moisture or soft areas for if water has been running down behind the wall and causing rotting inside that motorhome. Then we want to hop outside the motorhome, open up the awning and just make sure that there's no rips and tears in the fabric and that the support system for that awning is operational and locking into place. Now we want to check the 230 volt system of the vehicle. So hopefully you're next to power where you can plug it in, and then I like to turn the microwave on to make sure that you've got power flowing to the plugs. And then we want to check that the battery is charging. In this case the battery wasn't charging, which is why I'm playing around here. And then you want to move to the furnace and the fridge and make sure that it's showing you that it has switched to 230 volts. Okay guys, this is pretty much the inspection done. If you're doing it thoroughly, expect to take somewhere between 2 to 3 hours depending on the vehicle. And if you're being thorough and you're following the check sheet through, you can be pretty confident that there's not going to be any hidden expenses a few months down the road. Now there are two major areas where we have not looked at with this motorhome. This is the engine and the driveline systems. To check the engine, I highly recommend doing a relative compression test. To do that, you need to use the oscilloscope that you saw me using to check the battery and the alternator. If you're getting us to do that, it's an extra fee and you need to let us know beforehand. If you're doing the inspection yourself, I'd be surprised if you own an oscilloscope, and so you really need to find someone who has one in order to do that. Finally, we haven't checked the driveline systems and we haven't looked under the vehicle for rust and corrosion. So in order to do that, the vehicle needs to be taken to a mechanic who can put the vehicle over a pit or a truck hoist and get under there, jack it up to check your wheels, your brakes, your suspension and your drive line. Otherwise, you can be confident in the condition of this motorhome, and I really hope that you have a great time with this new toy of yours going away on holiday. As always, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'll try and make a video to answer any more popular questions, or if need be, I'll host a webinar where people can just ask me questions live and I'll answer them to the best of my ability. In the meantime, have a wonderful time, and I'll see you guys in the next video.